How are you? Good, how are you?
Are you an amazing player?
After Caitlin Clark's preseason game, it wasn't a lead executive or even a teammate who made the biggest statement. It was the head coach of Brazil's national team. He looked her in the eye and said, "You are changing the history of basketball." That kind of praise, coming from an international opponent whose team still travels on commercial flights, speaks volumes. While some in the WNBA may still be cautious to admit it, others around the world already see the shift happening. Brazilian players lined up to get Clark's autograph, an unusual moment in a preseason game. But the real eye-opener, the game brought in nearly $10 million in ticket revenue. That's more than many WNBA teams make in an entire season. Clark's impact isn't just about skill or popularity. She's having a direct and immediate effect on the business side of the league. It's rare to see a rookie athlete reshape an entire sport so quickly, but Clark is doing just that, earning respect not only in the US, but from international teams as well. Much like the greats who changed the game before her, she's rewriting what's possible.
Most people you've played in front of?
Yeah.
That moment flipped the script on how we think about respect in women's basketball. While some WNBA veterans seem to be keeping their distance from Caitlin Clark or downplaying her impact, it was a coach from the other side of the world who stepped up and showed what true recognition looks like. Instead of brushing her off, he acknowledged her for what she is, a game changer. His words weren't just kind, they were meaningful. In that instant, he showed the kind of respect you'd expect from the league itself, and that says a lot. When someone outside the system shows more appreciation than those within it, it makes you stop and think. Maybe it's time to reconsider who's really shaping the future of the sport, and who's willing to acknowledge it.
Real story was how this Brazilian national team that played the Fever, it's the way they received her.
The Brazilian coach didn't just give Caitlin Clark a quick compliment. He walked right up to her and said, "You are changing the history of basketball." And this wasn't just empty praise. It was a genuine recognition of the way Clark has transformed the sport in just a matter of months. It's something that many WNBA veterans seem reluctant to admit. Clark's influence isn't just about the points she scores. She's having a profound impact on the game itself, the way it's viewed, played, and even broadcasted. Her presence in the sport is sparking a shift that's bigger than just one player's performance. Check this out. It's clear that Clark is changing the game, and her influence is only growing.
Celebrated her. It's quite a contrast that these women of color from Brazil and their coach had, as opposed to the American players.
What makes this moment even more remarkable is what happened after the game. Brazilian players, international athletes at the top of their game, lined up to get Caitlin Clark's autograph. They put their pride aside to show respect for her greatness. Now contrast that with what's happening in the WNBA. You won't see Angel Reese or any of the WNBA veterans waiting in line for Clark's autograph. In fact, at recent games, some of these players have visibly turned their backs when Clark enters the arena. And to make things even more awkward, some have refused the customary pre-game handshakes, a basic basketball tradition. It's clear that respect for Clark is growing internationally, but not everyone in the WNBA is ready to embrace the change she's bringing to the game.
How are you? Good, how are you?
Are you an amazing player? Congratulations.
Thanks.
You're changing the history in
I
basketball.
appreciate it. Thanks for coming here and playing us. Most people you've played in front of?
Yeah. You're changing the history of basketball. You're an amazing player. What you're doing is phenomenal.
Brazilian team's response to Caitlin Clark was like a garden welcoming rain after a long drought, grateful and recognizing that growth benefits everyone. They understood the bigger picture and showed real respect for her influence on the game. On the other hand, the WNBA's cold reception to Clark feels like building walls against rising tides, an effort that's ultimately pointless and self-sabotaging. By not embracing the change she's bringing, they're missing out on an opportunity to grow the sport in a way that could benefit everyone involved.
Caitlin was signing their jerseys after the game. They were taking photos with her and the rest of the Indiana Fever, making TikToks on the floor, shooting from her signature logo spot. All in all, it seemed to be a great experience for that team.
Why the stark difference in treatment? The Brazilian national team, unlike WNBA teams, doesn't have the financial advantages. They fly economy, stay in basic hotels, and work with tight budgets. But despite all that, they chose to show respect, recognizing Clark's talent rather than feeling threatened by it. Now, look at the WNBA. Because of Clark's star power, Players now fly private, get better accommodations, and are seeing their salaries rise. Ratings have soared thanks to her influence, and everything in the league is improving because of her. Yet, many players still seem resentful of her presence. The contrast couldn't be more striking. The Brazilian team embraced Clark's rise, while some in the WNBA, who directly benefit from her success, remain unwilling to acknowledge her role in their growth.
Why is he celebrating her more enthusiastically than the overwhelming majority of coaches, players in the WNBA?
International players, who don't directly benefit from Caitlin Clark's rise, are showing her genuine respect. They recognize her talent and the shift she's bringing to the sport. Meanwhile, WNBA players, who are enjoying better conditions, private flights, improved salaries, and rising ratings all because of Clark's influence, often refuse to acknowledge her impact. This speaks volumes about the current culture within the WNBA. Despite everything that's changing in her favor, some players are unwilling to give Clark the credit she deserves, highlighting the disconnect between personal gain and collective recognition.
The Brazilian team isn't flying private to games around Brazil or anywhere thanks to Caitlin Clark.
Brazil's response shows that recognizing the value of a rising star is both good sportsmanship and smart business. When a player like Caitlin Clark is filling arenas and generating millions in revenue, it's much more beneficial to celebrate her than to try to undermine her. Acknowledging her influence isn't just about respect for the game. It's about understanding the impact she's having on the sport as a whole. Celebrating that kind of success helps everyone, while trying to diminish it only holds the sport back.
While losing $20, $30, $40 million a year because of Caitlin Clark, they're flying private. They're being treated as stars and celebrities.
What's especially telling is how Brazil's team, mostly made up of women of color, responded with nothing but respect for Caitlin Clark. They weren't threatened or resentful. They simply recognized her talent for what it was. This stands in contrast to some of the narratives that have tried to frame the situation around race rather than merit. The Brazilian team showed exactly how Clark should be treated, by appreciating her for elevating the sport to new heights. Their response was a perfect example of celebrating talent without the distractions of unnecessary bias.
They're all riding Caitlin's coattails.